The Bleacher Report app is your destination for sports. Right now, the NBA's heating up, March Madness is here, and MLB is almost back. Every day there's a new headline, a new highlight, a new moment you've got to see for yourself. That's why I stay locked in with the Bleacher Report app. For me, it's about staying connected to my sports. I can follow the teams I care about, get real-time scores, breaking news, and highlights all in one place. Download the Bleacher Report app today so you never miss a moment.
Hello and welcome to the Psych Legal Pop Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about popular culture through the lens of an attorney and a therapist. I'm Brooke Brigham, I'm the attorney.
And I'm Tess Brigham, I'm the therapist.
And we're here today to talk about Sister Wives. It continues, season 18. We are going to be talking about the talk back and look back episodes. So what they did is, after a painfully, kind of, I don't want to say a boring season, but it moved so slowly and it just was so like, oh my God, we're rehashing this. Now all of a sudden they are throwing all this stuff at us that's actually interesting. And I'm like, whoa.
Yes. Yes.
Slow down, people. It's like, right in the middle of the holidays. I have other things to do.
Well, what's so interesting about this is, this season 18 was so disjointed. Do you know what I mean? There was all this anticipation and then there was the big Kody-Janelle fight and some good stuff happened. And then, we hear about the text chain and then it just falls flat. And it was so disjointed. And it was like, oh, this is really nice to have this actual feedback and commentary because, you and I, when we talked about Mary and Kody's breakup on the bench, I was confused by a lot of things that he said. And I was like, oh,
Me
okay.
too.
Now, I still don't agree with Kody, but at least I understand a little bit more about what he's thinking and feeling or any of them. I'm like, oh, okay, now I'm with you. And I had an epiphany, though I don't know if I had an epiphany about Kody and Robyn and their relationship and why everything went haywire. And it's just, maybe it's so obvious to people, but it really hit me.
Okay, well, let's stay on.
Okay, sorry. When we get there, I'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, let's stay on track because there's a lot to cover here. So,
yes.
Okay, so basically the talk back is everybody has an iPad. And they are watching, they're all in separate places except for Kody and Robyn. This is the first time we see Kody and Robyn doing this together. So they're in their house, sitting on their couch, doing this together. And Robyn just looks so pissed off and annoyed. I mean, I've never seen her like this. I mean, she's in a really bad way. And so they're all watching, clips from the first episode of the season, and then the second part that we'll get to, the second half of the episode, is the last episode of the season, part 2. So in part 1, let's see, we start out with, it was a lot of Kody, of course, complaining about and how nobody cares about him, no one supports him, everybody abandoned him. He's saying he's going through all these divorces and nobody is supporting him. And Robyn is just kind of sitting there like comatose with a permanent frown on her face. And he's just going on and on about how wronged he has been. And it's weird.
Yeah. Well, that was the first thing I wrote down was, why is Robyn so mad? She hasn't even started watching yet. Like do you know what I mean? It's like, you haven't even started this process yet. Why are you, so you're mad sitting down. So that tells me a lot. I mean, I think, and I've seen other people comment about this, right? Their body language, like just watching their general body language and the way in which they interact with each other and how they are sitting on this couch together. It was weird and uncomfortable and odd. And so it's so bizarre. It was all bizarre, but it was very telling. Very telling.
Yeah, it was very telling. Like, Kody's just, Mr. Happy-Go-Lucky, just even though he's angry, he's still like, he loves hearing himself talk. And Robyn is just kind of like, well, do you really think that? She's doing damage control. She's trying to control him. I realized, through all these episodes, how controlling she is over what he says. She's just always kind of trying to control the narrative and doing her Kody-isms and whatever. And finally, at one point, when Mary and Kody and Robyn were out on the picnic table, Mary finally just says, "Can I speak? Stop talking for me, Robyn." But anyway, and then they kind of cut in these questions from viewers. And so a viewer says to Christine, "Why is Kody so angry? Why can't he let you go?" And she says, "I know. I didn't know he loved me so much. He wouldn't be so angry if there wasn't any love lost." And it's like, yeah, you're right, But then Robyn did have one poignant thing to say that I thought was very correct. She says to Kody, "You always point out the sister-wives relationships, but you never talk about your specific issues with wives." And that's been kind of the crux of the whole entire season, is that Kody just wants to blame all of this on the wives. He takes absolutely zero, zilch, no personal responsibility. So at least Robyn pointed that out to him. I mean, sometimes she's not wrong,
No. And I don't think she's wrong. I noticed that there was this pattern between the two of them. This isn't my big aha, but I noticed there's very much this pattern between the two of them, which is Kody makes some crazy outlandish statement. Or something that doesn't feel right. She stops and kind of asks a question, a very therapist-y question, trying to get him or trying to point some other things out or trying to get him to say something. But this is where things are different. And I think what's different about him with the other wives was what happens is Kody says his piece. Like Kody says, "No, that's not really what I'm saying. I'm saying ba, 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 ba." And she just goes, "Oh, okay. Oh, okay." And accepts it.
Yeah.
And then shuts it down. I'm trying to help you. You're bearing yourself more. And then I'm going to just shut down. And I don't know if that's her going, okay, this isn't going to work. He's going to keep burying himself. So I'm just going to shut up. Or if that's very much this dynamic of, I kind of get to point out a few things to you, but when it gets too close to the bone or it gets too real or you're going to have to take some accountability, I now have to shut down and stop talking. And I just thought that was very interesting. It happened several times.
Yeah, I think Robyn knows there's only so much you can argue with Kody, and then it gets to a point where it's just not worth it. So she tries to make her point and get out. But I realize all that stuff I just described was just sort of the highlights of the episode. But then, because it starts with I know the way they do this, I get so confused. I wrote these notes a week ago, and so anyway, sorry. But anyway, so. They show all of them kind of getting ready to watch this thing. Mary's taking her garbage out. Christine is getting her wine ready. Yeah, Christine's getting her wine ready. Now. I know. Janelle's making some tea, and Robyn, like we said, she's just she's not in a good place.
Yeah.
So
God knows what she's thinking.
Kody. Yeah, Kody. Let's see what. I don't know. My notes are so weird. Oh, the topic of how Kody's hair comes up, and then all of a sudden Robyn comes to life because she says she taught him how to scrunch. She taught him the curly girl method.
Yeah,
and it really helped his hair out. Which that's good. One good contribution. I don't know. And then they just started just doing random scenes, well, I mean, I guess this is the first episode of the season. So you have the, Janelle moving into the RV and then Christine's going, yeah, that really was small. And Robyn's house is huge.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's just random commenting is happening, and Kody's just going off on people, talking about how Janelle betrayed him with his boys by telling them they weren't welcome. And Robyn pipes in. She says, well, that's not true. And I don't even know how to cover this episode. I mean, it's so all over the place. They're just... It's kind of now it's become crosstalk,
Yeah, finally crosstalk. Yeah, but it's actually, it's this is what I've been asking for all along. Is there needs to be comments on each other. The problem is that because they're all still separate. It's hard to figure out like what are they commenting on? What's happening?
The producers. The producers are saying...
No, I know the producers asking them questions.
Yeah. Kody just said this about you. What do you think?
Well, I thought that was really interesting. And of course, Christine nails Kody because what I wrote down was that like Kody's big thing with Janelle, this whole section is all about how Janelle betrayed me. And Christine nails Kody. She's like, oh, he doesn't want a conversation. He wants an apology. Like, I think what's so interesting about watching these
wait a minute. He wants a capitulation, which is different than an apology. A capitulation is like, oh God, I was totally wrong. You are totally right. Mm-hmm. Not even that's even more degrading than a apology.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But what I think is so different is how Mary, Janelle, and Christine can very clearly see his behavior. And it's like, oh, for the first time, the three of you are really getting along and agreeing. Like, because I'd never seen them agree so much in my life, because it was like, they're all sort of like, yeah, this is what he wants. This is his personality. This is what's happening. And I was like, oh, thank God. Finally, we've got some agreement with the women. And I feel like I saw a very different Mary, a much happier, calmer Mary who obviously has been doing a lot of work on herself, because the way in which she talks about these things and reflects on these things is so different than the other Mary that she once was.
She seems to have actually really truly moved on. She's in a completely different space even than she was, a few episodes ago. So some time has passed, and that's, they're all kind of sticking up for each other, like Janelle is sticking up for Christine and saying that, it's ridiculous for Kody to say, that he's so upset about this divorce when for years he had been complaining about her, and, and same with all of them. He was complaining about all of them to all of them for all these years, and now they're all like standing up and sticking up for each other. I think it's great.
Yeah, finally, yeah. But I mean, Kody goes into this whole thing about how he says that Janelle used the boys as an excuse, that she really wanted to be with Christine. That was part of her whole. Christine she just wanted to be with Christine for the holidays, and just using my boys as an excuse. It's like, oh my God, So what was Janelle trying to make Kody look bad? Who said that? Was that Janelle? Was that Kody who said she's just trying to make me look bad?
Well, he said,
and then Robyn makes a comment about that.
He said that Janelle is specifically trying to destroy his character with his family.
That's right.
Very, dramatic statement. And he says it sucks being in a place with someone who you used to love. And he's talking about Christine. And it's like, wait a minute. And he says, who used to love you and now trash talks you and says, I'm so glad I'm not married to you, and laughs at you. Okay, Kody, which one is it? It's just like he goes, 1 minute he's heartbroken. He's, that Christine just kicked him out, left him. But then it's like, I never loved her. It's so confusing.
Yeah. Well, and then there was this other bent that Kody went on about the relationship in Janelle and the kids. And this really bugs me because, yes, in a healthy separation. Parents should not be bad mouthing the other parent to the children. Absolutely. But we never saw Janelle do that. We never saw that. This is what Kody continues to say, that, he goes into this rant about, like, I'm tired of carrying all the relationships, and, and Janelle's isolating me and I don't have this relationship with my kids. And it's like, okay, so let's just take all of that out. Let's just say all of that. The part that drives me crazy is Kody. It's like, Kody, these people are adults now. They see you. They see who you are. So this is the part that's, even though parents might badmouth the other parent, by the time a kid is a certain age, they have their own mind and can think for themselves, and they start to see, like, they have their own relationships, or they see how things are in the world. They can see you. They see you. Your kids, you're basically telling us that your kids are so dumb and sheltered that it's only Janelle's opinion that influences what they do with their lives. It's like, that's insane.
Yeah, because he keeps saying that, that these women are somehow ruining the relationships between he and his kids, being somehow gatekeepers between he and his kids. And most of these kids are grown. And also the stuff about not bad mouthing the other parent in front of the child, that really changes when that child becomes an adult. And also too, I've experienced this, when the other parent is mistreating your child needs a place to talk about it, and someone to talk to and process it, and, have someone who understands exactly what's happening and what's going on, and who can comfort you, and you can talk about it and process it. That's healthy. You don't just sit there and pretend that there's not a problem. I mean, what are they supposed to do? Oh, your dad, he's just, he doesn't mean, he doesn't mean it. He means well. No, that would be ignorant. It would just be stupid to sit there and pretend like this isn't happening. So Kody just, he's clueless in that regard, as he is with most things about parenting. But and I don't know. And at some point, Kody kind of thinks that he says he thinks Christine is the reason that Janelle left. It couldn't be that Janelle just left of her own free will. He thinks that Christine turned Janelle against him, because Janelle has left before, but she's always come back.
Yes.
But doesn't seem like she's coming back this time.
Well, and then this whole section where they get into this thing about, because Christine and Janelle were really pissed about this, about Robyn's comments about, was all of this real? They were watching Robyn talk to Mary outside when Mary was wearing the jacket and the hug, She was like, well, is all this real? Okay, so first off, I wrote down, wait a second, do Kody and Robyn not talk? Like, why do you keep asking everybody else about whether or not this is real? Like, this is if Kody's your partner, why don't you ask him and say, well, what's changed or what's this? But anyway, was all this real? But both Christine really calls her on it, and I'm glad Christine finally has the ability to do this, because I think this is what Christine's wanted to do forever, which is she was there. She was in the counseling sessions. She knew what the problems were. Like, she cannot keep standing up here saying, oh, what's wrong? I don't understand. There's problems, blah, 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 blah. All of that kind of stuff, because she was there. She really is there. And then, Kody just makes up stuff in his mind, because he has some other new theory about whether or not all of this was real or not. And I can understand both, and I don't know if Mary weighed in here, but I can really understand Janelle and Christine being pissed of, like, you're basically asking us whether or not we were being true to who we were. Like, you're basically, you're basically accusing us of lying about who we are, what we're doing, all of it, because you're saying, is it real or not? So I can understand the two of them being pissed. I'd be livid.
What else are they doing? They're just putting this is this a Truman Show or whatever? I mean, like, they're just putting on like this act.
Well, and so this is part of my theory. So come with me on this, okay? So I think Robyn is asking them this because this is what she's been doing. People, right? People who cheat always worry about their partners cheating on them because they're cheating, right? And they know that they can do this behavior. So if anyone who's new to the podcast, if you've not heard my theory about Robyn's hand jobs and Kody, her hand job / pumping Kody up, I do believe that what Robyn did was, especially in the beginning in Vegas, where I swear to God, I think the mornings he would have to go off to some new wife or whenever he'd have to leave, she would basically give him a hand job and tell him how wonderful he was. And I do believe that this is what happened, which is that Robyn came into this family with an agenda. And she basically said, no, I don't think it was an agenda to break people up or to be the favorite, but she came in with this idea of, I am going to make this man, my everything. I'm going to tell him how awesome he is. I'm going to tell him how wonderful he is every day. I'm going to just feed it. And what happened was over time was because I do think that, right, there's that expression, Jim Rohn expression, like we are the 5 people we spend the most time with, like we become that. So I think that what was happening was that before Robyn came in, I think Kody had much more of these balanced relationships with Mary, Janelle, and Christine, where they called him on his shit. They called him on stuff. They pushed him. And they've said this many times where like, no, you need to be the man that you can stand in the middle. You need to be this kind of, you need to stand up. You need to be the leader. You need to, like, this is what we are. And I got the sense in Christine, we see clips of this over the years where Christine says to him, like, we chose you for this. So stand up for it. Like, be that person. And I think before Robyn, like those were the voices in his head. That's what he was hearing over and over and over again was, okay, you need to do this. It's like anything where we see this and we have this in our own family where, certain people, when you're with one partner, that partner can really take the parts of you that are the best and shine a light on them, and then also help you with the things that aren't so great about you and help you change that and grow that. And a good partner is there to help you and keep challenging you and growing with you. And that's what these 3 women did for him. Robyn comes in and she made this decision of like, I'm going to tell him how wonderful he is. And what happened was that suddenly he was like, oh, I am wonderful. I am right. These other people are making me rise to the occasion over here. But no. There's this other part of who Kody is, this narcissistic part, this other part that we're seeing now that has always been there. It was just these wives were able to balance it well. But when Robyn came in and fed into it, he decided to hold on to that and run. And that's what happened, is that she hasn't been a partner that challenged him. She's not challenging him. And that's that same thing I was saying earlier about how she would just sort of say one thing and then he says something else and she just lets it go. Janelle and Mary and Christine wouldn't do that. They would push him more and they would push him to be a better person. And I do think that that's a big part of it and I think that a lot of what we see now with Robyn freaking out and like, oh crap, I think she's sort of like, oh shit, that was not the way to go with all of this. I think
now she's going to have to absorb all. She's going to have to absorb all of this. Like there's nobody else to absorb any of Kody's negativity. Yeah. So he went to Robyn's, to get all pumped up and get all this positive and reinforcement, and he could do no wrong, and then he could go and take out any anger and frustration on the other 3. And this all ties back to the picnic table scene where he says, our sacred covenant was that, if we ever got to a point where I wasn't in love with you, I wouldn't just string you along like I've been doing to these 3 other women. And this also loops in our friend Jen, Mary's friend Jen, who finally
who is my new hero.
Yes, she is a good friend. Okay, she is a great BFF, and she says, "Wait a minute. Obviously, before they got married and he was courting Robyn, he was already telling Robyn, look, I have these 3 shitty relationships, and I don't." And she's probably like, I don't ever want to be in that place with you. And I don't want to come into this family if I'm just going to be the 4th person in a shitty relationship. And so she made him promise her that, that wouldn't happen. And if it did, he would let her go. And then he announced to the other women, you can go if you want to. And I mean, yeah, it's all coming full circle now. We all see like that was the promise they made to each other, that they were going to have, this relationship where she worshipped him, and it was never going to get to the point where he was with the other three.
Yes. And I think that, that's why I've always said that I don't think Robyn is diabolical. I just don't think she's smart enough to be. But I do think that she went into this hearing these negative stories and thinking, okay, because she's such a perfectionist, she's so controlling, she's so anxious, that she was like, okay, what do I need to do to not be like, I'm so close to getting my big dream. And so what do I need to do to not be like these other people? Okay, great. I'm going to do that. Now, most people, as they bebop along, would be like, well, why am I doing this? I'm not going to keep being this, right? We've all taken over. We've all been you've worked for someone and they said, oh, the last person that worked here sucked. And then you try to come in and be that great employee until you realize like, oh yeah, it's you're dysfunctional, or the system's dysfunctional, this company's dysfunctional, or whatever it is. But it was almost like this became so painstakingly for her that that's what she focused on all the time. And you're absolutely right. And that's why, people have asking, do we think they'll stay together? I definitely don't think they're going to take other wives, but I wonder if I wonder what this is going to be like, because I don't know if I would see them getting divorced because of their, because of the religious part of it. But I do wonder if it's going to become more and more miserable, because you're right. He does not have another outlet. He's got no one to compare it to now. He's just got Robyn. So,
well, and something else that I realized in this episode, or just, I don't know, the last several episodes was, when they show when Kody first started courting Robyn and they're interviewing her, like the first time we meet her, and she says, Kody's my soulmate. And I was like, soulmate, that's an interesting term for someone who's going into a plural marriage, because a soulmate implies like, this is my one and only, this is my person. And if you're going into a plural marriage, you can't all be soulmates, or you can't be a soulmate with Kody. So she went into it with the idea that this guy's going to be mine. I know I don't really have a lot of competition with these other three, because he's told me that, he doesn't have sex with any of them, doesn't do this, whatever he told her. And she's like, I'm going to be number one. But, I also want to reap whatever benefits I can with this whole polygamy thing. And she seemed to be obsessed with being in a polygamous family and whatever. So yeah, Robyn, she's just got so many issues.
So but I think this is the part where she keeps crying and people are like, what's wrong with her? And she's a liar and she's this or that. Yes, I do think she lies. But I think she lies to protect whatever this image was. I don't think that she's someone who goes out and lies in these big ways. I think she lies in the sense of that she continues to kind of perpetuate whatever this lie is. Exactly what you said, which is, wait a second, how could you be his soulmate? You just hello, you just came in here, and doesn't that go against polygamy? And doesn't that do this? But you're right. She walked into this saying, I've got to make this work. I'm going to make this work. This man is going to be my soulmate. So she has morphed herself into who she thinks his soulmate should be. He's so narcissistic and in his head that he has no idea she's done this. And so he thinks that, they're totally clicking. And that's the part that I do wonder if Robyn is going to wake up one day and go, oh my God, I don't even know who I am. But I don't think Robyn knows who she is. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, I think it's going to be very intense for her.
Than she can handle. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we got to move this forward. There's so much to cover here. So, okay. So Janelle talks about how a lot of Kody's anger comes from failing at this idea of one big unified family, which was a delusional thing anyway, thinking that all of his children, once they grow up, they're all going to live on this one big property. And Kody told Christine, of course, that she broke up the family. It's all her fault because she left and blah, blah. We all know, this is just rehashing a lot of this stuff. And anything new here? Yeah, he's talking about how they have all the access to his children. Again, these people
this
are
whole
adults.
Yeah, that whole access
yeah.
thing is insane. Access.
I know.
Access.
What does that mean? Call them
Yeah,
up.
if they were 2-year-olds, all of your kids have iPhones. They all have a way of reaching them. Access.
Even the little ones. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's just trash talking everyone, talking about,
Oh, yeah.
Janelle did this, Christine does that, blah, 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 blah. What else? We've heard a lot.
Well, yeah,
of
then
this
there's that
before.
whole thing. Yeah, all of this whole thing where Robyn talks about whether or not this was, I chose this family because I thought this was a safe place for my kids. And that pissed Christine off, which I can understand. The fact that it was safe. It was a safe place. It was.
Mm-hmm.
You
right.
know,
if it became unsafe,
you're blaming us for growing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That whole thing. And again, that's that whole thing that's where I came up with my idea, this theory of this, of like, how she challenged him to rise to the occasion, to like show up, and he could never do this. He couldn't do this.
Yeah. And then they also tried to,
Kody blames COVID.
Well, they try to blame this one house thing that, that because that's Christine's fault. Because she was the only one who was not on board for the big house. And that just dashed Kody's dreams. He can't have his one big family. And again, this whole thing about, we talked about this earlier, that Robyn is just obsessed with how did this happen? She pretends she doesn't know what, she was missing something, but yet she's in every scene with all the counseling sessions when they're all talking about all the problems. Because
I think she's covering for the fact that Kody's been talking to her this whole time. This is her covering for the fact that she won't say, pretending that she is doing, because if she and Kody were talking about the other relationships, that means that they've broken some part of plural marriage. And it's like, what she doesn't understand is like, you were also in these counseling scenes. Like, you can own this because you were there.
And I love this. Kody has said this before. He says that the first 20 years of their marriages were pretty dysfunctional. So that means this whole show is a fraud, because you came out, season 1, episode 1, you were talking about, oh, what a wonderful, loving environment this is. And we're all just so happy and we choose to live this way. And love should be multiplied, not divided, and yada, yada, yada. I mean, it's amazing to me how he can't even keep track of the things that he says in his narrative. He,
so you knew, that's the thing. So you knew it was broken. So who's the liar here? Who's the liar? If you knew it was broken, then who's the liar?
Yeah. And you obviously lied to Robyn to some degree. I mean, if he told her, oh God, this is horrible. I don't know. Maybe he did, but I don't know if she would come into the family if he told her that it was totally dysfunctional.
No, he didn't. And because that's not how he felt at the time. It's just not how he felt at the time. And and Mary points this out later on when she's with Jen, where they're like, why can't he just say, I loved you. We got married. I loved you. There was love there. There was a lot of love, but then I met Robyn, and it was a different kind of love, and it changed. And that's the thing about this whole idea of growth, of like, why can't you admit that you've grown as a person? Like that narrative of you saying, you know what, looking back now, maybe I was wrong. Like, I think we would respect that, but he can't. It's bizarre of like, why you can't get out of it. Like, why do you keep burying yourself here? Because you're making it worse for you. Anyway.
Yeah. And the rest of this episode was a lot of rehashing stuff we've already seen. Like Kody just blaming everybody, and people talking about how, that when Robyn came into the family, it was a huge shakeup. They really never recovered from it. Although who's to say? I mean, maybe if they had all stayed and, they wouldn't have been on the TV show. we wouldn't even know who these people are. But if they'd stayed in Lehigh, but if they'd stayed in Lehigh, Robyn never would have moved into that big house. Remember, they said she couldn't move there because there wasn't enough room for her.
Yeah.
When they first moved her up there, she was in a rental house or something down the street. So she would have always been separate, and they wouldn't have had any money to do anything if they didn't do the TV show. Anyway, this is I'm just trying to see if there's anything new in my notes that we haven't already been over 20 times. Just a lot of Kody's bitterness. They replay some stuff from the Salsa Brava lunch with Christine.
Lunch with Christine. That was
when he says, I was in the fetal position on the floor. How dare you laugh at me? You're a mean person. You're a meanie. I don't know. Yeah, there's nothing really new here, but it was the most interesting part was, the Kody and Robyn kind of interplay and just how they're trying to rewrite history here. Okay, so you have notes on part 2 of the talk back.
Part
so
2.
This is the second. Yeah, they're watching the very last episode of the season.
Yeah, so Talk Back Part 2 is all about watching essentially the breakup of Mary and Kody, but also some of Janelle's stuff. But, again, like I said earlier, I think that just watching them talk about the scenes at the picnic table does help tremendously of understanding what the hell you're talking about. And so, Mary starts by, in this scene, she's saying that she's trying to get Kody to kind of admit in some level, like, that Kody broke this covenant with her so early on. And he keeps going back. It's this back and forth between the two of them of like, who broke the covenant first? And Kody, God damn it, he is so happy Mary got catfished because he can go to that well over and over and over again. Like he says, like, no, she broke the covenant during the catfish, but he also admits that, but because she didn't have a physical affair, I thought we can reconcile. And Mary's like, no, this guy, he abandoned me emotionally, long before the affair ever happened, which is, I think, what drove her to the affair. So, and then Christine also admits, she says, that Kody pulled back emotionally from all of us during Vegas. And again, I'm telling you, I'm telling you, I think this is when Robyn started to do her little thing with him, where she did that. And Kody says he was open to reconciliation when they moved to Arizona, but each time they were together, it felt really unhealthy. And it's like, okay, so why didn't you say that to her? Like, I was open to it, but each time it just felt worse and worse. It's like, so you would never turn to her and say, hey, this doesn't feel great. So we learned this before that Mary, finally saw that clip from season 17 about him not feeling married to him. And then Kody gets into this whole thing about how Mary always plays the victim. And I was just like, oh, that's interesting, Kody. So Mary's the victim, not you.
Right.
But basically she goes in and she explains. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, one thing that we learn, I think it's later in the, maybe it was in the look back or something, is that, and Kody says this himself, he says that he realized right away after Kody and Mary got married that I think he basically felt like he made a mistake and that it was never going to work out. And he actually said that he didn't know what to do. And so he's like, I got to get myself another wife because I can't live alone with this person. I can't be left alone. I can't handle it. And I was like, oh my God. So basically, their entire marriage has been bad. They make it seem like it's only been the last, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, whatever. No, it's been bad for 32 years, 33 years. And,
according to Kody.
According to Kody, but But all the other women also say in these very coded ways, well, their relationship was broken for a long time, even before the catfish. And it's like, well, how long before?
Mm-hmm.
This is one area we need to get some more details on. But anyway.
Yes. Yeah, no, I thought that was really interesting. But so we get a little clip here where we get a clip of Christine talking about her relationship with Janelle and how they are together. And then all of a sudden the camera's on Kody and we see him like such a child. Like he looks at his watch and then he rolls his eyes and he's like, I'm like, God, you are such a child. This is how a teenager acts when someone tells them something that they don't want to hear or they don't like. And it's just like, God, you are so basic. I'm sorry. There's no other word for it. You are so transparent. Like it's ridiculous. But Mary also says that Janelle and Christine didn't have that kind of relationship over the years. And it was really interesting because they get into this whole thing about like what happens when jealousy and conflict is removed. And we get into this, I don't know if it's in the look backs or these where they talk about how they really enjoyed, there was this whole, I think this was in the look backs where they really enjoyed it when Kody wasn't around. Of course, Kody was pissed when he heard about that, but it was better.
Yeah.
It was much better when he wasn't around. It was easier.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it was just weird. And so we get to see a lot of like the clips of Christine and Janelle, like from hiking with Christine's brothers. And then we get clips of Kody and Robyn uncomfortably sitting on the couch. I was just like, okay. And so now we're with Kody on the Coyote Pass property. So Mary, Kody, and Robyn, they're at the property and they talk about the division of the property, right? And this whole thing, I love how, Christine continues to say that's just selfish. That's not polygamy. And I truly believe that I know a lot of people have feelings about Christine these days or whatever it is, but truly only Christine and Mary really know what polygamy is. Do you know what I mean? It's like, Kody doesn't really know what it is. Neither does Janelle. Like they weren't born into this. And that's why, Christine keeps pointing these things out of like, yeah, this isn't what polygamy is. This isn't what this is about. This selfishness and the fact that he wants to just take one of the properties and he's like, well, I'm not going to give that property back to the women. I'm going to, that's just how it's going to be. It's like, okay.
Well, and Mary says, but wait a minute, I contributed financially to this. So why? Because she's only getting 2 acres when everyone else is getting 4 acres. And, and Kody and Robyn together have 8 acres plus that family plot. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And yeah, she's contributed a lot financially.
Well, and then there was this other moment, right, where there's this Robyn Kody dynamic, which is Robyn does say to him, well, yeah, we all, she said, we all put in the same amount. She makes some sort of indication like we all made the same amount. That's what she said. We all made the same amount and we put in the same amount. Why can't she have that? That seems fair. This is Robyn kind of pointing something out, right? She makes a valid point, tries to get Kody to see the light, and then he disagrees and she lets it go. He makes up some cockamamie thing of like, well, I need to have a lot because the kids all have claim on me and I need to have a lot for all my children. It's like, but that makes no sense because if all the women have an equal amount, then it's the same amount. Unless, are you now not counting Christine's kids? I mean, I don't understand here.
Because she doesn't. Yeah, because she
wants
doesn't
more
have
space.
Yeah, because she doesn't have a lot anymore, and all the kids need access to this thing. Nobody wants to be there. Nobody wants to go there and swim in a drainage ditch. It's not a pond. It's a drainage ditch that gets full after the snow melts in the winter, and then in the summer it's dried up. It's nothing. And he acts like it's like Lake Tahoe or something. I mean, it's just like...
Yes, I know. Like it's some kind of luxury resort.
Yeah, I
that,
know.
like everyone's going to be clamoring for like a timeshare.
Everyone's dying to go.
Everyone's like, can I get these? Yeah. People are clamoring for the week between Christmas and New Year's. Like, oh my God, I can't wait to go and swim in the sewage drain or the drain or whatever it is. But yeah, he kept talking about like this the recreational area, this recreational area. It's like, what are you talking? What do you think is going to happen? That was so weird. Let's see. And
in one of these scenes, in one of these scenes, I have to point out, Janelle's sitting on her couch and she has her mug sitting right there next to her. That one that says, rescue your own damn self. The one that she always has on Instagram.
Well,
like, good placement.
This goes
there.
well into the next section because Janelle does say that it pisses her off when Christine keeps, pointing out and kind of like, I don't need, basically saying, listen, Christine, I don't need you to encourage me to go. Like, I know how to do this. She's obviously done it before. That's not what it is. She doesn't need encouragement. She's like, listen, I have 3 kids that live in Flagstaff. One that was still in high school at the time, right? Like, I have 3 kids that are still in Flagstaff. All of my finances are scrambled up with these people. Just because I'm physically not leaving the state of Arizona doesn't mean that I don't feel like I left,
She also says that because of her religion, she still believes in plural marriage. And so she said that she still considers herself spiritually married to Kody. And she says she doesn't really know what to do with that or what to do about it. And then Christine's like, well, you can just declare you're not in it anymore. But that's that. But I guess she doesn't want to not be in the religion, but she doesn't want to be married to Kody. So she doesn't know how to go about that.
Yeah. But I'm glad Janelle's saying something. So hopefully Christine sees it because she's not wrong. Like people do this a lot where because they did something one way, they want you to do it the same way. And it's like, Janelle's like, listen, I have left him. It just doesn't look the same way how you left him. And that doesn't mean that yours is better than mine. It's just different situations. So, then the best, honestly, I never really was a Jen fan until now. I love Jen. Jen is my new favorite person.
Great. She's
because Jen,
very smart.
Yeah. Yeah. Jen comes in and she joins the conversation, whether or not that was staged or not. But the best is Jen sits down and there's this whole thing where they're at the picnic table and Robyn's crying and Jen's like, why is Robyn so upset? It's like, thank you. Yes. Why? Yes. Someone's coming in and saying, what the fuck is going on here with these people? Like, why is she crying? Like, why is she so upset? And so, and Christine's there. She chimes in. She's, happy that Robyn finally gets it, that it's not fair to Mary to make her hold on this whole time. And so we see the scene where Mary comes out and she says, okay, I'm leaving. This is what's happening. And this was really interesting because she says, she says, because of the comments that you made about me, this has really changed things for me. And Kody comes right in and he's like, why can't we just focus on the present? Like, what don't focus on what I say, focus on where we are. And that's when Mary and Jen just start laughing because they're like, this is why this took forever for us to end. Because I bet you this gobbledygook is every single time he had conversations with her. It was like this, like in one ear, out the other. So wait, what is it, Kody? Which one is it? Like you made some really harsh comments about her. You can't take any ownership of that and say, yeah, I did. Or yeah, no, it's like, no. Let's focus on, be happy, focus on this now. It's like
so much false hope he gave her. Just, right when she would get to a point where he could sense that she had really had it, he would give her some breadcrumbs and say, oh, well, maybe we could try to work on it again. I mean, it's just cruel, like just stringing her along, and all because he didn't want to be the one to leave her. And that's what he said it in one of these episodes. He says, if you're a man in a plural marriage, you just can't leave. You have to wait for the wife to leave. But then when the wife does want to leave, then you're upset. It's like, which is it?
Yes.
I'm so confused.
Yeah. No, what he wants are a bunch of, I mean, what I think would be interesting is that, and this is the part that's so odd, is it seems like what Christine figured out pretty early on that Robyn was, like pumping Kody up and telling him how awesome. And it sounds like Christine tried to do that for him. But he didn't want that from her. Mm-hmm. And so that's the other interesting part is that you would think that, what does Kody really want? And it's like, no. Kody, what does Kody really want? Oh, well, he wants 4 Robyns. He wants 4 women just like Robyn to do that. But that isn't what Kody wants. Kody does not want to be in a plural marriage and really doesn't even believe in it. But his whole life is tied into it. So he can't ever admit that until now.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Agreed.
So then we get into this whole thing where like Kody talks about how, Mary struggled since she got catfished because she was a victim. She claimed she was a victim. He like air quotes. And, she's not being accountable for her actions. And, of course, Robyn just starts rubbing his leg right then and there.
Poor baby.
And then Janelle says, yeah, this is ridiculous because Kody flips the script all the time. And Mary tries to tell him, listen, I'm not blaming you. I was never blaming you. When Mary said to him, the comments that you made, like change things for him. And he could just not turn and say, basically what she was saying to him was like, what you said about me hurt my feelings. It hurt me. But that's in his mind, that's blame. Mm-hmm. If something you did or said hurt my feelings or then, oh, well, that's on you. That's on you. So nothing's ever your fault. Okay.
No.
And then they go into this whole thing about, yes. And so Jen's very happy that Mary stood her ground finally when she tells Robyn to stop talking, get out of, shush. And then the two of them are just laughing so hard at Robyn crying. I mean, Robyn starts to cry. Christine laughs. Jen laughs, and Janelle rolls her eyes.
Well, yeah, is this when Robyn dramatically says, "I can't take it anymore. I can't sit here and listen to this anymore. I've got to go. I've got to get away from this." And then so she embarks out on a little walk, and then she comes back with these big sunglasses on and a water bottle. And Christine's like, she's coming back? Why is she coming back? Go home. And it's like, yes, you don't need to be here.
Yeah. Get in your car and go.
Yes,
just go. You didn't need to be here at all.
You drove separately. Yeah. Just get in your car and leave.
Yeah, you have your own way home. He's got his ATV.
Yes. Let them break up in peace. And in fact, did you catch where Mary said that they had actually already had this conversation? Mary and Kody alone had this conversation a couple of days ago, and they already broke up. But Mary thought it was important for it to be captured on camera. And Kody was reluctant to, but the producers, I guess, talked him into it. So, the whole thing was just a farce. The whole thing.
Oh, God. And then they pop in these questions. Like one of the questions was about Kody and Kody's hair. Christine had the best line. She was like, Kody's hair was like the 5th wife. Sex in the City. The city is the 5th woman. Sister wives. Kody's hair is the 5th wife.
Right.
And then they ask the same. God, it makes me crazy that they ask the same questions over and over again. Do you think Robyn and Kody are going to take more wives? It's like, we've already gone through this. Janelle says no. Let's see. Christine says something to the effect of like, Mary would have loved to stay in the marriage, but Kody left years ago. And Jen calls Robyn selfish because she doesn't want Mary and Kody to decide to break up that day. So that was this next section where the two of them are finally having this conversation. They're finally at the point. And if they if this was just for camera, then Robyn, you already know they're broken up. So why are you coming back going, well, let's not decide today. And I really everybody else was just like, what is wrong with you? Right. That she, let them go. And why, Robyn, you're just dragging this out and out and out. It's just,
Well, she has to,
yeah.
like, she has to make herself look good. She can't just, this is all an act. And her, I want to sit on the porch speech is an act because, like you said earlier, she is so concerned about what people think of her. She already knows that she's the least popular sister wife. No one really likes her. And she's hypersensitive about that. So she doesn't want to look in any way like she caused any of this or she didn't want this. And it's someone else's fault. It's not her fault. So she had to put on this whole show.
Yeah. Yeah. So then Christine's like, oh God, why is this so painful for Robyn? This is Mary's moment. Why is she, doing that? And then there's this little section of where Kody says, okay, well, we're ending it well, so maybe we can be friends. And then Robyn turns to Mary and go, are you accepting of that? Are you accepting of that? And Mary's like, what choice do I have? And then Robyn says, you've been doing a certain thing for a long time. And Jen's like, that is so wrong. So Robyn admits that they've been doing this dance.
Yeah,
like this is, this has been an act. And Mary says, I'm not going to force him or pretend. And Kody says, but the act is so easy. And this is where it shocks Jen and Christine and everybody that the act is so easy.
He's been doing it with all of them.
I thought
he's been doing it to all of them.
But I thought this whole thing that Janelle was saying that's so interesting was that's not true. That was not an act. He was an engaged father. He was all of those things. But because now he's, has this new narrative of being in love with Robyn the whole time, that he's pretending that this was his duty. And Janelle says, which I thought was brilliant, Janelle says, I wonder if he realizes he wasn't the only one that was honoring their commitment. He wasn't the only one acting. He acts like he's so put upon, but everybody is. And I absolutely agree with this as someone who's been married for a long, long time. You fall in and out of love with your partner. You always love them, but you fall in and out of love because of life, because of what's going on in your lives, how you're feeling, what's going on with them, work, kids, all of these other things that go on. You fall in and out of love. And she's just kind of like, you know what, buddy, you're not the only one that was falling in and out of love. Me too.
Yeah. How do you think we feel? Yeah. No, it's true.
Yeah.
Like he's been just some perfect husband all these years. I mean, God, give me a break.
Yeah. But that this has all been, but that it has all been on him. And again, this goes back to this problem. Maybe I wrote this down. Maybe this was part of the other clips, which is that Kody really never understood what being a plural husband meant. And if he had stopped and listened to Christine, who had lived this life and watched it, if he listened to her, he would be reacting very differently. But because he's always listening to Robyn, then, that's the problem. He's gotten this, she skewed his version of what plural marriage was. And I love this idea of like, oh my God, it's been such a burden on me. It's like, it's a burden on everybody. Marriage, kids, all of that. It's hard on everybody, not just you, Kody. But because he's the one that's like has to maintain all these relationships with all these wives, he feels more put upon. And it's like, well, but that was the job. It's almost like running for president and then being like, well, I don't want to have to make big decisions.
Yeah, this is too hard.
Like, well, then why did you run for president?
This is too much. Yeah, exactly. He wanted to be this, big guy, Kody Brown, with all these kids and all the big house and the TV show and the this and that. And he just couldn't cut it. He just couldn't cut it.
Well, but hold on. But could he not cut it? Or did he get lazy and found an out? Because that's the thing. Robyn gave him an out. If Mary, Janelle, and Christine were never going to give him an out, they were going to keep challenging him, keep pushing him, keep doing these things. Robyn basically said, you're awesome and amazing just as you are right now. You don't need to. What do you need to change? What do you need to do differently? You're so amazing and wonderful. And I'm, So of course he doesn't think he needs to change. It's almost kind of like a child actor where you're fed all of this BS for so long that you don't know what reality is anymore. Mm-hmm. And then you go out into the real world and you're like, oh, wait a minute. No, and not everyone thinks everything I say is brilliant. It's like, no. Anyway, they get into this whole thing about, acting and performing, which of course doesn't make anybody feel good. You know, you don't want to hear that. And so they go into this whole thing about this agreement that Kody and Robyn went into, their agreement that of their sacred covenant, that if he's not in love with her anymore, that he's not just going to sit there. And Janelle says, I think that's really weird. You know, that's so weird. Why would you do that? And then that's when Jen points out the whole thing about, like, obviously he's been complaining about these relationships. And Mary does admit, she's like, it was very upsetting that now, you know, Kody is putting this on me. You made an agreement with Robyn that I never knew about until now. And here we are breaking up. And I just learned that, you know, there's this agreement. It wasn't the agreement that we made, you know? And then Robyn says, this is the best. Robyn says, this isn't what I want. And Mary's like, well, this isn't what I want. And then Kody says, me too. It's not what I wanted either. And then Christine is just fake vomiting. It's like, it's like, I didn't want this either. It's like, fuck you, Kody.
Please.
You caused this. You caused
Why are we
this?
here then?
God.
Yeah. I didn't want this.
Yeah. And then we get this very interesting shot of just Kody and Robyn sitting on the couch for like a few beats, like just sitting there, like two of the most miserable people. And then Kody says that line about Mary saying, well, I hope she finds peace because I have. It's like, well, I hope she's happy because I'm happy.
Oh, good for you, Kody.
They're all so grossed out. Who's to say, the women.
Yeah, who's to say Mary's not happy? You think just because you guys officially called it quits, she's not happy? She looks like she's having a great time with Jen and Blair and everybody else up at the inn. I think they're having a good time, Kody. Don't worry about it.
What? But what a narcissist to think that just because, okay, I'm not going to love you anymore or even pretend to love you anymore, that you now, my God, your life is over. It's like, oh God, Kody. Anyway, it ends up where we watch the clip of everyone running into the lake. And it's so funny how when they go to Coyote Pass for the first time, it's so funny how everyone reacts differently. Like Janelle and Christine are looking back on it with like love and all of that. Kody and Robyn, you know, Robyn's crying throughout it. They look miserable. And Jen and Mary are laughing at Kody in his underwear. Like, oh God, no one needed to see that. And then we get the last few bits of Robyn crying at the end. And Janelle says, you know, Janelle basically says, well, Kody should have, you know, this is a mess now because Kody should have stepped up. And Christine says, well, when you monopolize one man, tell him he's awesome and amazing and thinks he's great, then that means you're not in a plural family.
Boom.
And so, and they both of them are like, this is on Kody. Like, if he could have grown as a man, if he could have been a different kind of person, then this would be different. But it's a mess because of you, Kody.
Is this the episode where they take that question from that guy Jeff and Kody? Some guy named Jeff they read a question from Jeff, and the question is something about, I don't even remember the question, but of course Kody didn't like it and he was going to start attacking Jeff, and then Robyn stopped him and she like puts her hands on his face. She is physically trying to stop him from talking. And she's saying, be nice. Do you remember this? Because he's
kind of. This must be part of Look Back Part 1.
I don't know. I thought it was the talk back because they were both on the couch together. Because on the look back, they're on separate couches, but they were on the same couch.
Oh, that's true.
In their house. And he's reading this question from Jeff. And, you know, it's kind of a snarky question. And Cody's about to get snarky back. And Robyn puts her both hands on his face and says, stop it. Be nice. Be nice. And he's like, well, he doesn't know. And she's basically telling him, like, don't go off on this person who wrote in. And it was very odd because it was very controlling and weird. And And it's like, Kody talks like this to everybody. So it's like, this is nothing new. Anyone who dares to disagree with him or criticize him, this is how he reacts to it. But it was just strange.
Yeah. I don't know. I do remember seeing that clip. What's so hard to keep track of is, I swear to God, I think they slip in clips. And then what you watch isn't, I always feel like I see things that I don't see in the episodes, but somehow I've seen them, or I don't know. Anyway.
Also, I think
that's the talk back.
Yeah. Depending on where you watch it too. Like sometimes like certain scenes will be left out on one platform, but yeah. So TLC, you can only watch these things as they come out on TLC, because TLC is like, we want our money back, because they licensed this show to like HBO Max, and now that it's being so successful, they've put this exclusively on TLC. They're trying to get some ratings and some money or whatever. But anyway, yes, that was the talk back part 1 and 2. So that's where we're going to end this episode. And then on our Thursday episode, we will be taking a look at the look back. Did I say that right? Today is talk back.
Look back.
Thursday is look back. Which again is just more people looking at clips and commenting, but just in a little different format.
Yes.
It's just more of the same. But, there's little nuggets in there, even though it's a lot of rehashing. All of these episodes have some pretty good little nuggets in them. So then the week after, the second week of January, we have Christine's wedding. So that's going to be a 2 week.
Yes, very exciting.
Second and third week of January. So we'll be covering those on Tuesdays. And then on Thursdays, we have some documentaries that we're working on. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
And Happy New Year to everybody. Happy New Year.
Yes. Happy New Year.
And
it's going to be a good year.
Yes. We always say that, you have to say it. You have to have the optimism. But anyway, if you like our podcast, if you haven't already, please subscribe. And you can also leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. That would really help us out and mean a lot to us. We are on social media at PsychLegalPop on TikTok and Instagram. And I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it. All right. Well,
Okay.
Happy New Year, everyone. And we'll see you Thursday.
Okay. See you soon.
All right. Bye.
This message comes from Jackson. Taxes aren't something you can only think about once a year. With investments, planning for tax day is year-round. Fortunately, Jackson offers tax-efficient products. Visit jackson.com for more information on how our products can make your tax bill a little bit less painful. Jackson is short for Jackson Financial Incorporated, Jackson National Life Insurance Company, Lansing, Michigan, and Jackson National Life Insurance Company of New York, Purchase, New York.